What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another DIY video on my F80 M3. My 2018 M3 has some exterior parts on it already, but I think there's one key component in my opinion that is missing from this car. So I do have a carbon front lip, splitters, carbon mirror caps, rear diffuser, but the main thing that I think is missing, which is really going to complete the look, is here on the sides. So I'm missing side skirts. So that's what we're going to be installing in today's video. So let me show you guys what we have in store for you. And just to show you guys real quick what the car currently looks like. So we've got a PSM style front lip on here from Keys Motorsports. I do have some M Performance style splitters here. I do also have upper splitters. And then, like I mentioned before, we've got some carbon mirror caps here. These are M Performance. Goes along with the M Performance roof. And then on the back here, I do have an M Performance rear diffuser here in the center, and then these are actually going to be Vorsteiner sides. So I've got one on this side and one on the other side, so it kind of completes the look back here a little bit. But you guys can tell that the thing that's missing mostly is on the side skirts. Oh, and I do have a M Performance carbon spoiler in the trunk, but we are missing the side skirts, and so that's a huge component, I think, that will really complete the look of this car in terms of exterior mods. A GTS hood would be fantastic to do, at some point if I keep the car long enough, but I think the one main thing here is the side skirts. So I've got a set of side skirts here. These are GTX style side skirts from RW Carbon. So 2x2 weave, they match the rest of the car. So a little bit more aggressive than the M Performance style carbon, but I went with these because they're a little bit more bulky. I think they actually flow better with the PSM front lip over there, and a lot of the carbon side skirt extensions that I've been finding are all very thin and flimsy, and these are a little bit thicker. Just to show you guys here what I'm talking about. So there's like no flex in this at all. And so most of the ones I'm finding, even like the expensive RKP ones from IND, are really flimsy in comparison. And I get it, these are supposed to be carbon, they're lightweight, but I also want something that's durable. And so I was trying to find something that was double-sided. This isn't exactly double-sided, but it does have this little lip down one side of it, which is also in carbon. So they just seem a lot more durable, and they're going to last a lot longer. They're not flimsy, they don't flex or anything, so I think these are going to look really good and they're going to really fit the part. And so yeah, so I'm going to show you guys how to install that today. Alright, so once again, these are the GTX style from RW Carbon. It did not come pre-drilled, and it does not come with any hardware, so I did pick up some hardware from Menards. We're going to be kind of doing some self-tapping screws, and I'm going to kind of hold this up to the car and make sure that they look and fit okay before I put some holes through it. So we're going to pre-drill through the side skirts first, and then we're going to double-sided tape this thing first as well, put it up against the car and have the tape hold it, and then I'm going to drill some holes into the actual side skirt itself, and then put some screws through it. So there's a couple ways you can do it. That's the way I'm going to do it. That's what I've done in the past. I've seen guys that take the entire side skirt off and then do it all on a table. That seems like a lot more work, and it's not necessary to do unless you want to throw some bolts and nuts through it, but I think I'll be sufficient with this. I did this on my E92 M3 and never had any problems with it. I had probably, 8 to 10 screws, self-tapping screws on each side skirt. I'm not even sure if I used tape on that, and never had a problem with them. So I plan to do the same thing here. Additionally, I did go the extra mile, and I did buy some PPF, some paint protective film, which I applied myself. So I bought some of that on Amazon. Not super expensive. It was from Vivid Vinyl, and just went on, very, very simple. There's not many curves or anything through here, but I did break this into 3 pieces of PPF. So there's a long section here, and then you can see maybe there's a seam right here, because this is where it transitions in this section to something a little thicker, and just to make my life easier. And I'm not very good at PPFing, so it's only the second thing I've ever PPF'd in my life. So I did it in 3 sections, so 1, this little one here, 2, and then 1 all the way down there. And then I actually did it on the bottom as well, because like I showed you guys before, the bottom does have a little lip to it as well. So I figured I would protect the bottom side in that area as well. You know, there are a little couple bubbles here on the bottom, but no one's going to see that. The top looks pretty dang good if you ask me. And here's the hardware that I picked up from Menards. They're probably a little long, but you know, no big deal. I wanted something that had black screw heads, so finding those was a little bit more difficult. So this is what I ended up with. If you wanted to replicate this, this is the 10 by 1.5 screw black hex sheet metal screws, and they're stainless steel from Menards. So we'll be doing 7 on each side, and also double-sided tape. I've got some 3M double-sided tape here. This probably isn't enough, so I bought some of this also from Menards. So that should be sufficient. All right, so as you guys can see, I've applied some tape here. So I used the rest of my 3M double-sided tape, and then I went ahead and used the Gorilla tape from Menards. This is going to be sufficient. Obviously, like, you're not going to see any of this, so who cares if the tape doesn't match? But if you're anal, you might want to make it match. Anyway, so I've got Gorilla tape on both sides here. So I also have the car jacked up in the air, and I'm using this little Ego blower box right here to help kind of support this. If you could do this with another set of hands, that'd be ideal, but since I'm doing this by myself, I'm going to be using the box here to help kind of hold it up there while I kind of test fit things and make sure everything fits. Also, I do recommend cleaning your car ahead of time to make sure you've got nice, good adhesion under here, and make sure the side skirt's clean, but the car is dirty, so I just went ahead and wiped it all down underneath. Plus, my side skirts on here actually do have PPF on it, so and they do kind of wrap around underneath. But I went ahead and cleaned underneath the side skirt, lifted the car, and now we're going to do a quick test fit on the passenger side. So here's a little mock-up. So I've got some things underneath here just to prop it up and kind of hold it up against the side skirt. Fitment is really nice, actually. So I will say that there's a little overhang on the front and the back, so it's not quite as long as the car is here on the side. So the side skirt, the OEM side skirt, hangs a little bit on both the front and the back. So I'm kind of splitting the difference a little bit because you know, this shape of the carbon is forming to the side skirt here, so I'm trying to get the most optimal fitment to keep it nice and straight all the way across without any gaps. So, you know, a little bit of tape and some screws will help hold this all together, but I think that's in a good spot. So it gives you an idea of what it should look like on the passenger side, at least. So they're a little aggressive. I like it. So now that I have that idea, I haven't pre-drilled my holes yet, so I'm going to pull this back off and pre-drill 7 holes on here. I'm going to figure out where exactly I want to drill those, and then we can start putting this on. Alright, so the OEM side skirts are nice and clean underneath there, and there's no obstructions or anything in the way. I've seen other side skirt extensions that, you know, are actually a little bit wider than this, and, you know, it ends up being kind of an issue with the jack pads underneath there. And so the way this is, it fits perfectly underneath the side skirt, and there's no obstacles or any screws or anything in the way. So what I've done is I've taken some painter's tape here, and I've marked out my 7 where my 7 holes will be drilled. So I'm going to drill a hole here and then on down the line. So they're roughly about 13 inches apart is how I spaced it. So I did it on that one and did it on this one for the driver's side, but now I'm going to go ahead and drill my holes. Okay, so my holes are drilled all the way down, and so I used a 5/32 bit for this particular screw. It's got a little bit of grab on it, which is kind of what I want. And then what I'm also going to do after I get this up there, the tape will hold it up, and then what I'm going to do is also pre-drill a little bit into the side skirt with a slightly smaller bit, because I do want it to grab the side skirt as well. So I like to pre-drill a little bit if I can. It keeps the plastics from kind of binding, so that's why I like to do it that way. But we're ready to go. All right, guys, here we go. Let's see if we can do this by ourselves here. So slightly pull back my tape, expose the tape, kind of get it up here. generally where I want it to be. And I can start taking the tape off when you're ready. Just like that. So, as you guys can see, the 3M tape is enough to hold it up here. Obviously, I don't want to leave it like that. I mean, you know, you're fighting against gravity, so that's why we're going to use the screws. But, you know, something like a trunk spoiler, the tape is more than enough to hold that sort of thing. But, you know, I want to be able to go 150 miles an hour without having to worry about these fly off. So, looks like my gap's pretty good all the way down. Fits really nicely. Perfect. So now all I need to do is come down here with the drill and pre-drill some smaller holes and get my screws in. All right, so if you guys are using these same screws that I'm using, this is a 9/64 bit, a little bit smaller. Just pre-drill right into the same hole and then right into the actual OEM side skirt. And then I'm using a 8mm ratchet to screw, and it should give you just enough bite where it's going to secure this side skirt right into place for us. And again, I like to pre-drill into the side skirt because I don't like the plastic to bind up if you're doing like a self-tapping screw. I mean, yeah, you might get a slightly better bite to it, but you know, if I ever want to pull these off, I don't want to have, you know, the plastic underneath here all bound up. So that's pretty good right there. Nice and tight. So I'm going to do that all the way down. All right, guys, so passenger side is done. As you guys can see, very, very simple to do. Just take your time and test fit everything, make sure everything looks good before you go ahead and start drilling things and taping things and wasting your time. So these fit really, really nice. Huge shout out to RW Carbon for sending this over. And once again, GTX style side skirts. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the driver's side, but the process is the same. I'll come back to you and show you guys some pictures and some video when I'm finally done. All right, people. Install is complete on both driver's side and passenger side. So, like I said, driver's side should be the exact same process. Went on like a breeze, and they look fantastic. I think this really flows really nicely with the PSM front lip. Again, GTX style. The rear diffuser, a little bit different style here because it's a bore signer in the back, so the thickness is different here versus here, but I think it still works nicely. If I happen to find something else that matches a little bit nicer, that hangs out a little bit more aggressively, maybe I'll switch it in the future, but I think this looks pretty damn good, and I think it completes the look on the exterior at least. All I need is a GTS hood and we should be good. But looks killer. So car needs to be cleaned up obviously, but this should hopefully give you guys a good idea of what to expect when you buy a set of these. So Okay, so that just about wraps up the install on these super nice side skirts from RW Carbon. Huge shout out again for sending these over to me. Again, GTX style side skirt extensions. I'd say fitment on these are a 9.9 out of 10. I mean, they're nice and straight and flat, so there's not much variance to it, but they fit really nicely, nice and solid material here. And they're not flimsy, which I really like. So highly recommend these. And if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns about the install process, let me know. Otherwise, stay tuned. Lots of more mods to come on the F80 M3. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.